Good old Bryan Higgins. What have you gotten yourself into?
And that was 5 minutes before...
Objection.
Sustained.
It's out there. Jury heard it.
Was either on the couch or in the bed watching the news.
You're watching the news because you're waiting to see if there are any news about a dead body. Oh, I think this is really telling.
Did you lie under oath, sir?
No, I did not.
Would you tell us if you did?
Objection, Your
Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to Buckle Up, It's the Law. Today we're going to continue the cross-examination of Bryan Higgins by none other than the infamous Alan frickin' Jackson. I am so excited for this one, folks. Today is going to be a zinger. You'll see what I mean. Let's watch.
Initial interview with Massachusetts State Police on February 3rd, 2022.
Yes.
Correct? And you indicated during the course of that interview, which was just a couple of days, 5 days, after the events in question, that you left Bryan Albert's house, went to Canton PD to, quote, fulfill some administrative obligations, end quote, correct? You later said, when you testified in front of the grand jury on April 28th, that you went to Canton PD to do, quote, administrative work, correct?
Yes.
You never mentioned...
I said administrative things.
You said administrative work was your testimony in your transcript.
I believe it was things, but okay.
Okay. Can we agree, Mr. Higgins, that you didn't mention anything about moving cars around, correct?
Well, that would be administrative.
So
Eye roll.
when you say I went to Canton PD to do administrative work or administrative obligations, you meant moving your car, your personal vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. Although you didn't say that you were going there to move your personal vehicle, right?
No, I said I didn't move my personal vehicle. I moved work vehicles.
Or either one. You just traded off vehicles, moved them out of the way, right?
I moved the purpose for going back there was to move 2 work vehicles.
And the reality is you had gotten Canton PD earlier in the afternoon and actually moved some other vehicles, traded vehicles, didn't you?
I swapped vehicles out, that's correct.
Right, and you left the vehicles that you now claim you had to go move exactly where they were, even though you knew a blizzard was coming, correct?
That is correct, yes.
So you didn't move the cars a few hours earlier, knowing that you just have to come back and move those cars a few hours later, right?
I was more concerned to go eat and have a drink because it had been a long day.
Eat and have a drink so that I can move some more vehicles under the influence. That seems to be the theme here. He got to the waterfall after he had a few whiskeys or whatever he said that he was drinking, 3 or 4, I believe he said. And then he drove intoxicated again from the waterfall to 34 Fairview. Now he's driving intoxicated a third time from 34 Fairview to his work, arriving at work intoxicated and moving more vehicles under the influence. Does that seem normal? That does not seem like the kind of, professional behavior you would expect from a law enforcement agent, an alcohol, tobacco, and firearms special agent. What am I missing here? I don't think I'm missing anything. This guy is just not fit to be on the force. No wonder he's been taken off the field.
So wouldn't you want to move those cars early on so you wouldn't have to go all the way back to Canton and play, parking lot with these cars in the middle of the night?
Not really.
Because he knows he went there for a different reason.
Actually at Canton PD to do administrative work at 1:30 in the morning, were you?
I was moving the vehicles. I'm sure it's on video.
We'll talk about the video in just a second.
Oh, wait a second. Did you see how uncomfortable he got? There may be a possibility that he's like, wait a minute. I know I didn't do that. Do they have a video of me not doing it? And he's like going in his head like, what do they have? What does he have? What does he have? What is he going to use? You can tell it's written all over his face.
You entered the Canton police station through which door?
I believe it was the door to the right of the Sally Port as you come in the main entrance.
And you made note of who was on duty that night, correct?
I didn't make note. I walked by, I saw somebody sitting in the control room, and then just went about my business.
So you immediately knew that your friend, Officer Good, was working dispatch, right?
So do you need to hear something or? So why don't we take a 5-minute? All right, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you. Mr. Higgins, if you went back to Canton PD at 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the morning, you would certainly be in a position to monitor anything that was happening at Canton PD at the time that at least you were there, correct?
No.
I mean, you would be inside the building, correct?
Yes.
With access to dispatch and anything else that was happening around that floor, that area, correct?
I did not go into dispatch.
You would have access to the interior of the police station at that time if you went back to Canton PD at 1:30 in the morning, correct?
I'd have access.
You could see if there was any activity going on, any calls, call outs, things of that nature.
I didn't have access to that, and I wasn't looking for it.
Not that you were looking for it, Mr. Higgins. My question is more simple than that. If you were there, you'd know what was going on inside the building.
No.
So if you walked in, you would just be completely oblivious to anything that was happening. For instance, if troopers started amassing to go out to a call, you wouldn't see that.
Objection.
The objection sustained. Ask it differently.
If you were able to monitor, you'd be in a position to monitor what was happening at the station around 1:30 in the morning when you were over there, correct?
No.
No?
So,
Are you sitting in a room? In a box? I thought you were
how long
moving
did it take you
vehicles.
to get home from Canton PD?
A little longer from after I moved the vehicles.
Correct.
I don't know. I mean, it could have been 15 minutes. It could have been 20 minutes.
You live alone?
I do.
You did then?
Yes.
What did you do when you got home?
I think I had something to eat, maybe a couple more drinks.
This guy is so tired and wants to go home so badly because he was tired. And what do tired people do? They go to sleep. I mean, he was agitated about the death of John O'Keefe, which I'm certain he knew about. He went from 34 Fairview to his work to do some administrative work that could not wait until Monday morning, or at least Saturday morning when he woke up. And he was so tired, he went home to grab another bite to eat again. This is now presumably like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't know. And a few more drinks. Well, because he wants to be updated. He wants to keep up with what's going on. How's the situation with John? Is he coming to? Is he taken care of? That's what it's starting to smell like. People who are anxious, nervous, stressed are going to be on edge, are going to be worried. Whew. Man, oh man. Bryan. Good old Bryan Higgins. What have you gotten yourself into? I feel no remorse for this man.
And you went to bed?
Was either on the couch or in the bed watching the news.
In any of the prior testimony that you...
Why are you watching the news at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning on a Friday going on Saturday? You're watching the news because you're waiting to see if there are any news about a dead body reported on 34 Fairview and what's happening with it. Oh, I think this is really telling. This is really, really, really telling.
Given in this case, have you ever indicated, ever, that you slept on the couch that night?
I don't know.
Well, you reviewed your testimony before you
Well,
testified.
those would be the two options.
Okay. I didn't ask you about your options. I asked you if you reviewed your testimony before you testified.
Yes.
Okay. When you reviewed your testimony previous to coming in here today, did you ever testify that you slept on the couch that night?
No, I slept in my bed, but I could have started somewhere else.
Did you ever testify in the previous hearing that you started somewhere else?
Not that I know.
Did you ever mention a couch in any of your description about what you did when you went home that night?
Not that I recall.
As a matter of fact, what you did mention under questioning in a different hearing was that you may have gotten something to eat, you then went to bed, you put your stuff on the nightstand next to your bed, correct?
That would be the routine, yes.
He is getting really uncomfortable because he knows his story is very inconsistent. And he knows that these are bold-faced lies. He just has to keep it going. He can't stop now. Otherwise, you're going to be indicted for accessory to a murder. Yeah.
You did not make or receive any calls after returning home that night.
No.
You were clear when you went to sleep in your prior testimony that you put both your work and your personal phone. You had two at the time, correct?
Yes.
A personal and a work cell phone, right?
Yes.
You put them both on your bedside table because that's what you do every night. Is that right?
Most often, yes.
As a matter of fact, you were asked whether or not you have a charging station, and you said, yeah, it's right on my bedside.
I don't know that I don't have a charging station.
Right, you said no, bedside. In other words, you keep your phone by your bedside, on your bedside table.
Usually.
You also testified that you did not use your phone that night to go on social media, correct?
That's correct.
You indicated that you don't go on, you didn't go on social media because you don't have social media. You don't use it that much.
I don't.
You said, I don't have the gram. I'm guessing that means Instagram, correct?
That is correct.
And you don't use Snapchat, and you, quote, don't do those things, correct?
That's correct.
All right, so you testified that the first call you received after returning home on the 29th was a call from Chief Berkowitz just before 7 a.m., which woke you up. Is that right?
It was around 6:30-ish, I think.
Okay. Your testimony previously was at some point before 7 a.m., that call was the one that woke you up.
Yes.
And it turns out, Mr. Higgins, that was a lie, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't a lie.
You want to tell me you slept for like an hour and a half? And you're like, you should be hungover to all hell after all the copious amounts of alcohol that you consumed. You should be extremely exhausted, hungover, and then you just get woken up at 7 a.m. You would be so dead tired, you'd probably sleep until noon. You would sleep through all of it. The only justification is that you were awake. You were stressed and awake, and you didn't sleep for a second that night. Get him, Jackson.
Asked that question at a previous hearing. You didn't know that the person questioning you had your phone records, did you?
I assume they did.
And you were thereafter confronted with those phone records, correct?
I was asked about them, yes.
And those phone records established that you and Bryan Albert actually exchanged not one, but two phone calls at 2:22 a.m. that morning, at a time when you claimed you were in bed asleep, correct?
I have no recollection of any phone calls.
May I approach you on?
Yes.
Take a look at those two documents and tell me if you recognize at least the top one.
Do they have a page number for me to follow or no?
I was just asking Ms. Little, I don't think we've introduced them, and no, they don't have a page number, but I'm going to ask that they be marked for identification, at least at this point. Do you recognize those?
Yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
These are, you know what, I'm going to, if it's okay with the court, may the witness maintain those documents?
Sure.
Just a second. I'd like to have those two documents marked only for identification with the court's permission.
Okay.
You've seen that document before, correct?
I think I've seen it maybe on a screen, not in my hand.
That was these were the records that were shown to you at a prior hearing.
Yes.
And you acknowledge that at least the one marked QQ is a record of your calls, correct?
It has my name, my telephone number, correct.
And it indicates that on January 29th, 2022, at 2:22 and 35 seconds, you received a call from Bryan Albert, duration of 1 second, correct?
Yes.
In other words, Bryan Albert called you at 2:22 and 35 seconds, but it looks like you missed the call, correct?
I see the 1 second call, yes.
There's a second call just below that. On the same date at 2:22 and 52 seconds from you to Bryan Albert. Do you see that one?
Yes.
And the duration of that call is 22 seconds, correct?
I see that, yes.
So 17
Busted.
seconds after you missed a call, according to these records, from Bryan Albert, you called him back, and there was a call lasting 22 seconds. Is that right?
That's what the records say.
May I approach?
That's what the records say. But I have no recollection of ever talking to Bryan Albert the night that John O'Keefe died. I was in bed. That was a butt dial. I mean, come on. What do you want from me, huh? I didn't do nothing, huh? It's unbelievable what these guys are capable of. Bold-faced lies and just unabashedly lying through their teeth.
So the fact is, you were speaking to Bryan Albert in the middle of the night, approximately 3 hours before Mr. O'Keefe's body was found in his yard, correct?
No, that's not correct.
And that was 5 minutes before 2:27 a.m. when there was a Google search for how long to die in the cold, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
It's out there. Jury heard it.
And then, of course, you lied about that under oath in that prior proceeding by saying, I don't remember this phone call.
Objection.
Did you catch the glance at the prosecutor? And then you lied under oath by saying, hey, buddy, little help here? Rescue? Ah, there it is. Ha. Objection. Okay, good.
Did you, in fact, tell the truth at the prior proceeding when you said, I don't remember that phone call?
I always tell the truth.
Did you lie under oath, sir?
No, I did not.
Would you tell us if you did?
Objection, Your Honor.
Would you tell us if you were lying? Of course you wouldn't. Oh my God. Absolute masterclass by Alan Jackson on how to cross-examine a non-cooperative witness that simply will not relent and will not give you what you want. Folks, this is one for the history books. I'm telling you, this is going to be taught in law schools one day. This case, once the second trial is over. And I wanted to thank you all for joining me. I wanted to thank you all for coming for another episode of Bryan Higgins and his cross-examination by Alan Jackson. I will see you all in part 7. Bye, everybody.